All right, everybody. Welcome to the Saints and Savages podcast. There's a lot going on in the world today. We have a lot to talk about. We have LSD amphibians. I'm talking to you about some guns, maybe. Some Inflation Nation. Some Insta-Ruskies. Some cuddle spiders. Some white nationalist Latinx.
Interesting.
My name is Brian, and today I'm joined by the 6'3" Mad Mexican, the black-bearded bearer of bad news, Mike.
Hey, guys. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming.
We're also joined by Kyle. Before we get started, hit and like that subscribe button. Leave a comment.
That was my intro.
Oh, sorry.
Kyle.
My brother from another mother. His beard would
There
make
we go.
Saki blush. Kyle.
Yay.
Hey, before we get
What's up,
started, make
everyone?
sure you
Make Saki blush.
before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, share. Make sure you comment, good or bad. We don't care because we'll probably ignore you. We might even comment back if it's a good enough one. So, but let's get started. Mike, what do we got?
Awesome. Well, we have some incredibly interesting stories today. Of course, as the bearer of weird news, we have the great red-bearded Kyle about to share with us an interesting story about some huge spiders coming up from the south. Kyle, you want to take it away?
Yes. So after I get done with this article, you can just go ahead and stop watching. Nothing else is more important. From the New York Post, millions of palm-sized flying spiders to swarm the East Coast.
Wait. Rewind. What'd you just say?
Millions of palm-sized flying spiders to swarm the East Coast. What do you think I said?
Hell no. Flying? Are you kidding me? I missed all of that. Just one. I don't care if it's millions. One.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm done.
Can you imagine
I'm
just
done.
seeing like a palm-sized flying
no.
spider just like flying right into your face and you're
Dude,
just
I'd
like,
freak out.
No.
or like,
I'd freak out.
And the sound. Like, have you ever heard of flying cockroach? Like, if you're poor, you've heard flying cockroaches. Can you imagine that?
or can you imagine a dog with his head out the window in the car ride and suddenly like it just starts like getting attacked by a flying spider?
Why is Ace's face all swollen up? So it goes on to say, if you live in New York City, you won't need to be a certain red-suited Marvel superhero for your spider sense to commence tingling. Millions of palm-sized flying spiders, a species known as, I'm going to butcher this, Trichonephala clavata or Joro spiders, could have taken.
How about just flying
Flying
spiders with
Joes.
death?
Flying
Flying
Joes.
spiders with death. That's all we need. Easy.
Last September, the 3-inch yellow-striped arachnids swarmed Georgia in millions, suggesting the same could happen elsewhere. Apparently,
First of all, where was this on the mainstream news?
Well, they said it's in New York, so I'm okay.
No. They said they swarmed Georgia.
Georgia.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm not in Georgia or New York, and currently it's in New York, so I don't have an issue with this part.
Like they just skipped Washington.
Like, yeah,
As long as I stay in New York.
once they cross that line.
I mean, if they come to the hillbillies, they'll just eat them.
So Andy Davis, who's a research scientist at the University of Georgia, said in a statement, people should try to learn to live with them. That's
What?
yeah.
That's
Where
it. We're
did they
getting
get
a
this
Tesla
guy?
flamethrower. Just roll around with it.
Says if they're literally in your way, I can see taking a web down and moving them to the side, but they're just going to be back next year. There ain't no way I'm going near those things.
So now they got the rat. You lived in New York. They got the rats the size of dogs.
Yep.
Now they're going to have the flying spiders.
Yeah, remember that famous video where a rat's like carrying a huge slice of pizza up the steps? Like that's going to be a spider.
Is
Only
that a
like
real thing,
the spider's going to carry the rat.
Is that a real thing though? Like, have you seen rats?
Oh
that big?
yeah, man. There's some crazy stories, dude. I mean, other New Yorkers can comment and tell you guys about their stories down below. But me personally, when I lived on the Brooklyn side, like right across in Dumbo, and when I would take the metro to go into Manhattan, man, as soon as you cross into Manhattan, for some reason, like you just see them on the train tracks, man. Like that down there in the metro, and they're just like these
Stay in their hood, man.
I mean, like, dude, just prize.
So
prize-
I've seen the
prize
videos.
rats.
I've seen the videos of the rats, like where it crawls on a guy on the subway.
Oh,
It's
when
like,
they're asleep.
yeah, like I would imagine someone would go save him. But if that's a flying spider that lands on something, like, sorry, dude, you're done.
gone.
Man.
Yeah, you're gone. Even that huge spider.
Yeah.
So
Rest in peace, buddy.
And the fact that I'm locked inside of a sub with one of these spiders,
So apparently in New York, the rats have actually been they've mutated and grown and like evolution so long that they're considered like a separate species of rats, like the New York Metro rats. Can you imagine? And there's people saying like that they've seen like rats like taking like down dogs and cats in New York City, man.
Hey,
like
the way things are going, those might be the new replacement for cows. So I'm just saying, if AOC has her way of plugging all these cow farts up by killing all these cows, rats are the next step.
Hey man, rats can like chew through like steel pipes, man.
I've had rat before. I had
Like
it in Tijuana. I had it in Tijuana. I went and got one of those street tacos.
Oh,
and I asked.
You had a
TJ.
rat?
Yeah,
Like a pet
Tijuana.
rat?
No, hell no.
No, he ate it.
Oh, you ate a rat?
Yeah, I was in Tijuana,
Oh.
and I went to one of those street taco places.
Like that makes it all right. It's all right if you ate it in TJ.
It's pretty good.
TJ rodent.
I was like, I looked at the guy
Like, yeah, that
questionably
makes
for a
sense.
second, and I was just like, "It's a one more bite."
Watch, he actually fed you like donkey penis or something. It's like it's stringent.
Well, there
really
are
gamey.
plenty of donkeys, especially there for the donkey show. So I would imagine that they're
my
not going to kill off
gosh.
that. But the rats are they're plentiful. So, and I didn't see any dogs anywhere, so I don't know. Maybe it could be that.
Oh my gosh.
So continue.
All right,
continue,
go
Cobbs.
on.
All right, where was I?
Flying
yeah. Yeah, so he also goes on, its article also goes on to say the spider's hatchlings disperse via web parachutes. They can fly up to 100 miles,
It just gets worse.
riding strands
Special
of silk
forces spiders.
Got freaking SEAL Team 6.
The 101st Airborne that changed their patch to flying spiders.
So it says the Joro spider snuck inside a shipping container back in 2014, invading the United States, and the population has only grown.
Of course.
Last year, horrified Georgians saw their arachnid webs, which were as deep as 10 feet, drape power lines, overtake porches, and veil mailboxes.
Yeah. Snake Plissken is like, I'm not going into New York, dude.
Well,
Do not
looks
send
like
me
we're
in.
not getting our mail for like all of
You
summer.
go out there and your mailbox is covered in this.
Nope.
Researchers suggest that Joro spiders won't stick to traditional means of flying along with the breeze. Won't stick to traditional means of flying along with the breeze to colonize their new home. Instead, they might opt to be stowaways. The potential for these spiders to be spread through people's movements is very high. Anecdotally, right before we published this study, we got a report from a grad student at UGA who had accidentally transported one of these to Oklahoma.
Wait.
We're already spreading it across the United States. It's already begun.
Can you imagine Oklahoma and tornadoes with huge spiders just flying around?
Sharknado.
While its bright yellow color and red underbelly markings are stunning to the eye, the Joro spider seems menacing both in web size and lure, but it's deceiving. The arachnid is not strong enough to bite through the skin of humans, cats, or dogs, posing no threat unless you're allergic. Then you're screwed.
Is God up there going, inflation, go? Nope, that didn't work. All right, Russia, go. Nope, that didn't work. Hunger, go. Nope, that didn't work. All right, you know what? Cue the flying spiders. This will get 'em.
Send in the Joes.
We gotta begin this thing somehow.
All right, let me finish this off. It might be the silver lining in the terrifying news, since the spiders are poised to spread across the country. Researchers compared the Joro spider to its close cousin, the gold silk spider, which migrated from tropical climates to the southern states 160 years ago. But the Joro spider is more resilient with the ability to withstand cold temperatures, double the metabolic rate, and a 77% higher heart rate. Just by looking at it, it looks like the Joros could probably survive throughout most of the eastern seaboard here, which is pretty sobering.
All right, what I'm hearing is that Aragorn has finally from Harry Potter shown up to the U.S. That's what I'm hearing. Like that scene that you guys see on Harry Potter where Harry and Ron go into the spider nest. That's what we're facing.
So it says
this year.
It says at the end of this, whoever this guy, Frick is his last name.
Oh, go. Yeah, keep going.
There's really no reason to go around actively squishing them. Humans are the root of their invasion. Don't blame the Joro spider.
Dude, so many guys are about to get laid this year. all these girls are going to be
spiders.
screaming about these spiders. and in your Tinder profile, just put, I killed Charles.
All I hear is that I just need to buy more ammo
Yep. And a flamethrower.
And like
and a flamethrower.
repellent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, what's his face from Tesla? He had it. He has that flamethrower, right? Maybe he was seeing this coming. He had something.
So for those of you guys who saw our episode this last week, we talked about sexy murder hornets and them invading from the north. And now we have these hellspawn of massive flying spiders coming in from the south.
Satan's butthole.
You guys are welcome.
So,
Glad I
anyways,
did.
well, thanks a lot for that. Appreciate it. That brings
Grief, Kyle.
certain feelings to the
So on
our
that
heart.
happy note, you can stop watching now.
It's over.
All right. Well, let's jump into something a little more serious, I guess. I don't know, Brian. You said you had something.
Yeah. I got some stuff to talk to you guys about. It's maybe a little inflation, maybe a little bit of war. Maybe some death and mass famine, starvation. But to make this a little bit more appealing, we're going to play a little game.
Oh.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off some stats for you guys. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about certain items, what their cost was when Biden was elected, what their cost is now, and what the projected cost will be in 2024. Now, what you two are going to do is you are going to see who can best guess the price for 2024. Now, you don't have to take account in anything else except inflation. That's all you got to take into account. Not war or anything else. Granted, it's probably going to come. But just take into account inflation. Now, the person who gets the closest, because you might overshoot, so the person who gets the closest will get the point. All right.
Okay.
And then at the end, I'll get to decide what the winner gets. All right. So our
Take
first
inflation
product.
for 200.
So our first product. When Biden was elected, hamburgers cost $4.40. Today, they're $6.01. What do you project in 2024 a hamburger will cost? Kyle,
I'm
stop looking at it.
gonna go with $9, $10.
Okay. Mike?
I will say 840.
Son of
Mike for the point. $7.95. All right.
Nice.
Gas, when Biden was elected, was $2.18. Today, $4.41. In November of 2024, what do you project gas will be? Mike?
650.
Kyle?
44, 41. I'm just kidding.
No, it's too late. That's the final answer.
I'm gonna say $5, $5.50.
$5.50, and you said what?
650.
$5.83.
Oh, come on.
All right.
How it's done.
Tie, 1-1. All right, milk. When Biden was elected, milk was $3.42. Today, milk is $3.89. In 2024.
Today it's $3.89.
Yep,
Wait, what was
That's
it?
a lie.
$3.42. So in November of, actually, I think it was $2.42. I think I wrote this wrong. Anyway, so in November of 2024, what is your projection for milk, Mike?
Sorry, can you repeat those numbers again?
When Biden was elected, it was $3.42. I'm sorry, $2.42. Today, $3.89 for a gallon of milk. Just inflation.
Adjust inflation.
Just for inflation.
425.
Final answer.
Yes.
Okay.
What is 424?
Mike. Yes. $5.15. $5.15.
Stick that
Just
white
for
privilege
inflation.
up your...
All right.
Wait. Okay. So we were at the grocery store. I think we talked about this.
No.
last
Well,
podcast.
you lost. Let's go.
No. I'm just saying. Was it? They said it was three something for a gallon of milk.
This national average.
National average.
Yep.
Okay.
Just for inflation.
It's none of
Okay.
that soy crap that you drink. So it's all good.
That's what makes his hair red.
Yeah.
All right. Light
All
bulb.
that estrogen.
Light bulbs. When Biden was elected, $1.57. Today, $2.55. In November of 2024, what is your projection cost, Kyle?
The first one was $1.57.
$1.57. Today, it's $2.55 for one light bulb.
Man.
$4.75.
Final answer?
Final answer.
$4.50.
Mike. $3.37.
This game
All right.
sucks.
Hey, Mike.
good.
Mike, it's 3-1.
I told you guys you wanted to stop watching after my article.
Loser has to get naked on camera.
All right. Next one. Eggs. A dozen eggs. When Biden was elected, $1.45. Today, $2.33. In November of 2024, what is your projected cost for a dozen eggs? Mike.
What was the last price?
$2.33 today.
$5 even, Bob.
All right, $5 even. Kyle,
All
you're wrong. No.
right. Well, immediately, guys. I didn't like this game anyway.
And with that, Kyle's gonna get naked.
All right, Kyle.
Let's do $3.85.
Kyle for the win. $3.11. All right, he's coming up. He's got two to.
I have less faith in humanity. I thought eggs were gonna go $5.
All right, this is a big one. It's not the last one, but it's a big one. When Biden was elected, a loaf of bread was $1.50. Today, it's $1.67. Surprisingly, in November of 2024, what is your projected cost for a loaf of bread, Kyle? It's $1.67 today.
$1.80.
Mike?
$2 even, Bob.
Mike. Yeah. $2.21.
This game's rigged.
All right. Mike's got 4. Kyle's got 2.
Was that Wonder Bread or was that like?
Now, there is an asterisk. We're going to come back to this bread part. We're going to circle back, just like Saki. All right. A house. When Biden was elected, a house was $358,700. Today, a house is $414,123. What is your projected cost of a house in 2024? Kyle.
$530.
Mike.
$4.75.
Kyle. $547,885. All right. This is the last one.
Are we tied up? What are we doing?
No, but Kyle can tie this up. It's Mike has 4, Kyle has 3. Okay.
I'm gonna unplug his mic. Hold on.
When Biden was elected, a car was $22,951. Today, a car, $30,603. For the win or the tie in November of 2024 projected. Mike, what is your price of a car?
What was the original price?
The original price was $22,951, and today it's $30,603.
And what's the year difference? The first price was
year
when?
two.
A year?
Yeah, it's only been a year. Yeah, it's been that long. He's only been president for a year.
I thought you were saying, what's the year difference till 2020, 2024? I was like, 2?
I'm gonna say $40.
Kyle?
I'm going to say 32.
And the winner and new champion for $40,448. The Blackbeard, Mike. Yeah, you guess what? And because you win, you get to punch Kyle in the face.
You prick.
All right, we're not done yet. Remember,
That's
I said I was
awesome.
going to circle back to wheat.
That's awesome.
Right? Because on here we said that, if you remember, a loaf of bread when Biden was elected was $1.50. Today it's $1.67. The estimation cost of wheat is going to be $2.21 just for inflation alone. Now, currently, with what we're seeing in the world, right, with Kiev and Russia, Kiev should be planting wheat right now. And the reason for that is because, well, 15% of all global calories from wheat and rice come from where?
Ukraine and Russia.
1/3 of all wheat comes from Russia and Ukraine. So they should be planting their crops right now, but they're not, of course. In the United States, our supply chain, we have enough food in our supply chain right now for 90 days.
Right now,
Right now.
stockpiled?
That's it.
Or is it? Oh, it's in the supply chain.
In the supply chain.
Do we have any?
So
like,
if anything were to
strategic
disrupt, we do, but those are already being opened. So right now we are already opening our strategic reserves for food, and we only have 90 days of food in the supply chain. If anything were to disrupt our supply chain, say a war or and massive inflation, job layoffs, crazy things that happened like during the Depression.
Spiders.
Yeah, of course.
wait. What about sexy murder hornets?
Yeah.
Yep. So
If that happens, we know where Brian's going to be. OnlyFans.
Daddy fans.
that's going to be the only way I'm getting out of that. I'll never come out of the house. All right. So yeah, we have 90 days from farm to fork in the supply chain here in the United States. 25% of all global production is food. We're about to lose 12%. Wow. That means we're losing 1/2 of our food supply of wheat. So
you said 1/5?
No, 1/2.
Oh, 1/2.
1/2 of our food supply in wheat. So the first place this is going to hit is, anybody want to take a guess? What country?
Hidden. Oh, what place?
What country would you estimate this is going to hit first? Usually has an issue with starvation already.
America.
No. Africa.
It's not a country. It's a continent. That's why I didn't say
You are
Africa.
correct, but I'm trying to throw you off. I knew that. I was just seeing if you knew it.
I feel like we're still on the game show.
I do like how you guys, just deeply stared into each other's
With our
eyes
mouths
for a
open.
moment.
With the little,
That was really adorable, guys.
All right, so yeah. I mean, we're laughing, but it's serious. So the first place this is going to hit is Africa. All right. Currently, 800 million people live on less than 1,200 calories in Africa.
Oh, man.
Just to give you some reference here, the Germans only allowed the Jews to survive on 600 calories a day, and you saw what they look like. Okay. So with what's going on in Russia, Russia exports nitrogen, potash, natural gas, and we know that Biden recently suspended or stopped importation of any of those Russian supplies, right? Mm-hmm. So Russia has also decided, since we're going to stop bringing in the supplies, they're also going to quadruple the price of any products that anybody's going to buy anyway. So some of these products that we talk about is going to go from anywhere from $200 to $1,000 a ton for fertilizer. All right. So, what is it called? Potash, I think is being banned from Russia. That's 10%. So due to the increased cost of fuel, fertilizer, farms all over the world, including the United States, are decreasing the amount of farming that they're going to do. And since Ukraine currently isn't farming, which they should be, that's a massive percentage of our global supply chain for food. Corn has doubled recently, and that's, a side thing for wheat, as someone wiser than I said, we better have perfect weather all year round for this stuff to happen, because the price of wheat, if we can expect all these things to happen, the price of wheat is going to increase by at least 30% from that $2.21.
Wow.
So you're talking massive starvation around the world in the tens of millions of people.
And that's just wheat, correct?
Yeah.
Most places that grow wheat also grow what? Corn?
What else eats wheat? What else eats the stuff that we eat?
Right.
Animals,
Cows,
right?
Yeah. It's feed, right? Most of the stuff, yeah, like most places that grow wheat will grow corn. Will grow also like, what's that other thing? Soy.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, if you think about it, if wheat's suffering in the same place as these other things are being planted, that means that all these other things are going to be completely destroyed. I think what was maybe like a week or two ago when we were talking about China as well. I think we brought up that China was reserving like about 70% of its corn's production, which is I think China's the number one supplier of corn for the world.
Yeah, and we supply China with all of their rice. Do you know that?
Is that
really?
nuts?
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say
where
all.
Do we even grow
the vast
rice
majority
here?
of the rice.
What the heck?
Yeah, I don't know, but we supply them with most of the rice.
Interesting.
So that'll be an interesting fight.
Hey, we want cornflakes. Hey, we want
rice.
Rice.
Yeah. Hey, whatever. It ain't gonna happen.
We're gonna get so bad.
Yeah. So yeah.
Dang, that's crazy, man.
And when you have a brain surgeon, a rocket doctor like Mr. Pete running our DOT, things are gonna run flawless.
Oh man.
We can only hope for murder hornets and flying spiders, baby. It's about to get bad. So again,
before he forces you to buy an electric vehicle, you can't buy bread until you buy the electric vehicle.
Yeah, when the average person is making $35,000 a year now, I think it is because of inflation. Like it went from 55 down to 35 or something like that. So it's bad. So, man, I keep having these boating accidents and I keep losing all my crap. So unfortunately, I don't have anything yet. So I got to start buying some stuff. Maybe a can here and there. But man, I am tapped out at home. I have nothing. Kyle, do you have anything I could borrow? No, crap. Boating accident?
Yeah,
man, it's like every weekend.
It's weird how that happens.
Like every weekend, dude.
It's like a phenomenon.
What's your insurance like, dude?
What's your insurance? That's like the most personal question. Hey, what's your premium at?
Well, since we can ask COVID stuff, we can ask your insurance.
No, but really,
shut off the cameras.
So what do you guys think it's going to be for like the common person, right? I mean, the person that's making like $50,000 a year.
Hell,
I think the number one thing is like people buying bread and like eggs or something, milk. Right?
Hey.
Those are like the staple things that if people don't have, they're gonna just go crazy.
So what I think is going to happen is they're going to dump the dollar. They're going to go into a U.S. digital currency. Everybody's going to get issued a card, and it's going to be like food stamps. You're going to get money put onto your card. Any cash that you have, so like let's just say you have like $10,000 sitting in the bank. The government would be like, hey, look, we'll pay you 60% of your 10 grand. We'll put that in digital currency. Of course, that you can never opt out. Once you're on this bad boy, it's food stamps forever.
Oh, and nowhere else is accepting cash anymore.
Yep. And you can only go buy food on like odd and even days or something like that. Like they did with gas back in the 70s.
Yeah, what do you think they're going to do with commodities like gold and silver? What do you guys think
they're going to do? Like it'll be like World War II, I think, where they, Roosevelt basically made it illegal for you to own gold. They're going to make it illegal for you to hoard, which you shouldn't do. But granted, you have to take care of your family too. So,
right.
But they're going to do that. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean it's a scary prospect if you think about it. If like you already own something, right? Something tangible. Like let's just say you own 10 ounces of gold, right? I mean, it's a lot of money, but let's just say that's like your little nest egg that you're always going to have that, you'd say your dad gave it to you, and you've never spent it. You always know it's there. You could always exchange it, right? What if the government's like, that's illegal. You can't have that anymore. You got to turn it in. And we're only going to pay you, we're going to pay you below spot, which for those people that don't know about precious metals, spot is like the price that people will pay.
Yeah, what you see on there, it says like, I think silver, I looked today, it says like $25. They're not going to give you $25 for that. It's like 36.
Can you imagine like it's like, no, this is mine. Or like your land, right? Imagine if you own like 100 acres of land, and they're like, actually, you only need like 2 acres to live. The rest of this land is now nationalized and part of the government.
The bank can just come in and this happened in 2008 to my dad. The bank came in, a bigger bank bought up his bank. He was paying on his land. He had 40 acres, and the bank came in and basically bought up this little bank. And then they went to my dad and they said, "Hey, you have a week to pay on this 30 acres." And my dad had never missed a payment, none of that. And then guess what, man? He's like, "Well, can't we just work with this? Can we do that?" And they're like, "Nope, you got 10 days." And you can't come up with that kind of money in 10 days. So they took it. That was in 2008. That was just a recession.
I would have been like, all right, give me a loan to pay you back, and I'll just pay the loan.
Well, I shouldn't say what he tried to do, but it was funny what he tried to do, and it still didn't work because that bank bought another bank.
Just out of spite.
But anyway, yeah, I think you're going to see that. It's any, like right now I'm reading The Forgotten Man by Amity Shlaes, and she talks about the Great Depression. And she goes through all the stuff that the government did to elongate the depression. For the rest of the world, it was just a recession, right? It was just a couple years, not too bad, whatever. For us, it was 10 years. And Robert Kiyosaki says we still haven't recovered from the Great Depression, right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard, listening to Robert Kiyosaki. He said, we're still not out of it. We're still dealing with the consequences of that. And the 2008 recession is also part of, directly dealing from the administration's policies that were instituted during that period of time.
That was the guy that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right? Yeah, he's great. And he's a big commodities precious metals stacker as well. And he's big, really bullish on gold and silver. He's like, when this all comes crumbling down, those who have silver and gold, man, they're just going to be on top. But again, what if you made a criminal, right?
Yeah.
And if the government can track, all the purchases that you make, you can't buy that stuff anymore because they'll know that you have it.
Well, that's why you go to a digital currency, right? So if you go to a digital currency, the Fed is the only bank there is. They can track any single thing that you buy. And if you do like they did, that they had the NRA under, not the National Rifle Association. This was the National Recovery Act under Roosevelt. If you did business with somebody who did not have the Blue Eagle, he'd come in and find you and shut you down.
Mm.
So imagine the mess and storm we're about to walk into with inflation the way it is.
Well, it's not only that too. It's like you're probably not even going to be able to do business on top of that. Also with the ESG score, right?
What is the ESG score?
So it's
I know what it is, but
I forgot what the
environmental.
I was say I don't know what it is. So
environmental social governance score, right?
Yeah.
And I was reading an article actually earlier today about how the SEC, right? They're the ones that
Security Exchange Commission.
Security Exchange Commission. They just I think they put out something today saying that they're asking they're going to make all companies declare how they're impacting the environment. Yep. A lot of companies already do that, like Apple and stuff. But they kind of keep it in the grayish area. But now they're going to try to standardize those things, and all companies are going to report that. That's like a global ESG score, man. Well, at least a countrywide one, right?
So so West Virginia, I think, was the first one to do it. Texas was after them, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Oklahoma is doing it now. Florida to come. So the Secretary of State Attorney General, yeah, of West Virginia basically kicked out BlackRock.
Yeah,
like you no longer have control of our funds because BlackRock is anti-coal, they're anti-oil. However, what are they doing in China? Heavily investing in oil and coal in China, but not here in the United States, right? So West Virginia is like, well, that's not in our interest for you to be handling our finances of our state. So they kicked them out. So Texas is currently doing it right now. I think Oklahoma's on task to do it. And there's several states. Idaho kind of just punted, and the governor is just, or the attorney general is getting wrecked right now.
Yeah. So apparently, at first in Idaho, the attorney general was on board to like kick out ESG scores and all that stuff for companies in Idaho, and as well as companies like BlackRock. But then apparently, like, some money started coming in from these big donors,
Republicans too.
Yeah, and then they're like, maybe we're gonna table this because there's more important issues right now. And most of the people that live in Idaho are usually are farmers or more rural area kind of people.
Yeah,
and so this is impacting them a lot because if the ESG scores start being implemented in places like McDonald's, big fast food chains or restaurant companies, that flows downhill, right? Because then they cannot buy any produce like potatoes, let's say from Idaho, to make McDonald's fries because they're not ESG qualified.
You can't regulate the cow farts, right? You got too many of those going on, too much methane going in, so you got to reduce the amount of cows. I mean, in the Great Depression, they would pay farmers to kill their pigs, so they could raise the price of pork.
Well, right now, I think the three big meat processing plants, they're actually hoarding beef and pork.
Aren't two of them controlled by like China too?
Yeah, I mean they're heavily invested by outside parties, but they're hoarding a bunch of meat, and what that's doing is the cattle ranchers and all that stuff. They're like, we can't afford to keep paying for these cattle because we can't process them. It's like a year wait time to process them.
Yeah.
So they have to kill them because they can't afford to keep them alive. So they might as well just slaughter and keep as much as they can, and then the rest is just like I don't know what we're gonna do with this, but they just probably just let it go or get rid of it somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, all this is go ahead, Colin.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So with all this going down, how do you think most people are gonna react? Do you think people are just gonna fall in line?
We saw a little bit of what they're going to do for COVID. We saw the reaction of people during COVID. There's going to be that one product first, like toilet paper or something like that, and that's going to go, and then it turns into a domino effect, right?
Yeah.
You just need that one thing to start kicking it off, and then it just lights the fire. Right now, I think what we're seeing is there's a book called The Fourth Turning.
Oh yeah.
And right now we're in that fourth turning. So basically what it is like, I think it's every 80 years, you go through these turns. So, you have your first turn, second turn, third turn, fourth turn. Each one's about 20 years, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so right now we're in a fourth turning. So in your fourth turning is when conflict, strife, starvation, all that stuff starts to happen. And if you go back 80 years ago, what did we have? Roughly.
The war.
Was that World War II?
World War II.
Yeah. 80 years before that.
World War I.
No.
Civil War.
Civil War.
I was saying, wasn't that far behind.
Yeah.
Kyle said that.
Yeah, you go back. You go back before that. You had the War of 1812. So it's like it's cyclical. It's just it's human nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, what was I gonna say? Totally just spaced on.
Wasn't important, clearly.
Wasn't important. Yeah, sorry about that.
But I think right now that the most important thing for you to do is, one, don't freak out. We've said this a million times, and I'm going to keep saying, don't freak out. All right. If you're Christian, that Jesus is there for you. You have your church to rely upon. You should be working together as a church, whether it's your church, your synagogue, your mosque. You should be working together. Creating co-ops. If you're not already doing those kind of things, starting to get to know people in the church. It's like what kind of skills does everybody have that it's like maybe this person they know how to do woodworking. This person knows how to do this, because eventually you're going to have to rely on each other. But don't freak out. There are going to be those people that freak out. But if you're prepared before that time comes, right? You take the time now to put away a couple cans of food here and there. You'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to your community too, right? I mean, a lot of people obviously aren't religious, and that's totally fine. Whatever you believe in. I think a great channel is City Prepping. I don't know if you guys have watched him. He's a great channel. If you guys want to check him out, City Prepping on YouTube. He's great. He talks about this, right? He's like, build a community. People that you trust. Obviously, when times are tough, and if heaven forbid something happens, and the infrastructure fails, and you have to rely on yourself. You want to have like-minded people that you've already kind of game plan things out. Just to be on the safe side and be ready, right? It's better to have it needed than needed and not have it, right?
Fire extinguisher.
Exactly, words to live by, man. So, and we always recommend that. In our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we're always taught to be prepared and relying on God our Heavenly Father as much as we can, but. He also leaves it to us to and get ready.
Don't even go down that deep dark hole. But imagine your neighbor loses their job, and they've got kids and stuff like that. But if you have some extra, you can help them out. That's what's important. Like you just said, your community.
Yeah, and small little things like that in the end is really going to make a difference, especially when you've known your neighbors for 20 something years, right? They'll remember that, and when times are tough, maybe they'll reciprocate the kindness. And
well, and what I read too is like, my dad's a big gardener, and one of the things I read was that like you can live off of 1/8 of an acre per person per year. So it's like if you just do a little garden, that can subsidize a lot of your food that you're taking in. And not only that, but one, the accomplishment that you get from growing your own food. Two, it's better food. Right? It's better than you're buying at the grocery store. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You're growing things in season, which we're told in scripture, that's what you're supposed to be doing anyway. You shouldn't be eating things out of season. So you find the things in your area based on your climate zone, which you should be growing. And that also subsidize a lot of the food that you're buying at the store.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why homesteading has become so popular lately, starting the small little farm and, being self-reliant and growing your own stuff. I mean, I think the moment when you eat a tomato that you've grown and is actually ripe, will beat anything you've ever had, before from a grocery store. I mean, once you eat things that you've grown yourself, you'll never go back, man. I mean, things just taste so much different.
You don't even need I think most people think when they think of gardening, they think of, your traditional planting in the soil, but you can also, like, I have a cousin who has a garden in his basement, and he just has
UV lights.
UV lights,
Yeah.
and just grows it in his own basement. So it's like if you're in an apartment or something like that where you don't have a plot of land to be able to do your quote unquote traditional gardening, there's still ways that you can. And I think for him, like he grows like tons of like way more tomatoes than they need, and they've actually started selling them.
Canning too.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you don't know how to can and stuff, preserve. I mean, that stuff can last you for years, man. I mean, that's how a lot of Great Depression and Dust Bowl people survived, right? I mean, they were washing tinfoil and aluminum foil, right? That's how desperate they were. So they were, whatever canning and stuff they could do and preserve and save as much food as possible. That's what they were doing.
Well, and, I mean, just for a practical sense, right? With inflation going up, even gardening now, even before we get to the more like extreme circumstances, just growing your own food, like you think how much that's going to save you at the grocery store as your grocery bill each month?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Well,
we're so used to eating processed food, though, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my refrigerator is the coffin where vegetables go to die. So
you just buy them for it to look pretty in case somebody visits.
I love throwing things in the trash. It's so fulfilling. Just taking those carrots and yes.
Yeah, but it's another thing if you like spend like all season growing them, right? And you like been out there in the heat, watering them and collecting them and harvesting them and all that kind of stuff, beating all the bugs away, all the hand-sized spiders and. Can you imagine? You're like cutting your lettuce and you're like, shiz!
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah,
I'd just throw the whole thing away.
Just bring out your flamethrower.
like that's your part of the garden now, bud. It's all you.
It like starts thriving. How do you think this is going to affect farmers, man, with the shortage or skyrocketing prices with fertilizer, man?
Well, think about it like this: a tractor trailer, right? Just a tractor trailer, which is equivalent to a tractor on the farm, is about $900 to $1,000 to fill up on diesel. Okay,
$900,000.
No, $900 to $1,000 per day.
Like,
yeah, there's actually.
Can't be right.
Yeah, I mean they drive a lot. I mean, you see, there's a bunch of YouTube videos of them filling up and showing you what the price is. Man.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense.
Well, tractors on the farm are the same exact thing. Those big John Deeres or whatever like that.
Yeah,
they're same thing. Every day you got to fill those bad boys up. You're looking at about $1,000 on diesel right now.
Yep.
So with that added cost of running that tractor, and you imagine a bigger farm, they're going to have a lot more tractors. You get to like Nebraska, Idaho, Iowa, Illinois. The breadbasket. They run multiple tractors on those farms. They're going to start cutting back.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so even if they did do like this digital currency or whatever, if it's affecting across the board, it's all like, is it really going to matter? Because if it's kind of killing their farm, where are you going to get the food from then?
Well, I think
does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean the cryptocurrency is already a done deal. Biden already signed that into law, right? It's part of that law, and when that happens, I mean, when it's finally finalized, I mean,
I think he's talking about the U.S. digital dollar.
Yeah, the U.S. digital dollar. It's part of that. It's that new executive order that Biden signed. It's part
right.
of it.
So they'll do.
But what I'm saying though is it like they go to it right, and they're like, all right, this is the only way you can get groceries or whatever.
Sure.
If there's no groceries to get, it's not really going to matter. So with all this affecting the farms,
yeah, I don't think it's going to be apocalyptical, like where you can't get groceries. But I think like the big Walmarts that you see, the super centers, that stuff's going to go away. Yeah. It's going to be the smaller stores, the local stores, your local farmers markets, even just your local growers. Up in my area, I got farms all around me. And, you can go to any one of these farms and they'll sell stuff for you. And granted, it's a little bit more expensive than a regular store, but that's okay. They have the stuff. But what I think you're going to see is if they go to like a digital dollar, the government's going to subsidize them. Be like, hey, look, first of all, you can only grow so much. We're only going to allow you to grow so much, and we're going to pay you
to not grow things.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They do that all the time. Yeah.
So they'd be incentivized to
not grow.
Yeah.
And it sounds counterintuitive, but they did it in the Great Depression.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then guess what that happens when they're incentivized not to grow, then they don't need as much land, so they sell the land.
Yeah, well, they're trying to get rid of cash. They're trying to get rid of all this excess cash that's going to be flooding back in the market. Because if you have like China dumping the T-bills, China and Russia dumping all the U.S. T-bills, well, all that money is going to flood right back into the United States, and that's when you're talking about hyperinflation. And so they got to get rid of that money somehow. They got to burn it up. Granted, it's digital, but it still exists.
Right.
I mean, that also comes around to the interest rates. I mean, the the Fed finally raised the interest rate since. When was the last time they raised it? I think it was like 2000.
Yeah, but they raised it by a 25 basis points, so 0.25. But for every 1 percentage point, it's $30 trillion that they add to inflation. So you're $30 trillion, just to give you perspective, that's our entire budget of the United States military. They're looking at raising it by 5 points.
Well, here, why don't we jump into this next story that actually ties into the Fed and interest rates. Here we go by Reuters or whatever they're Reuters. Fed will raise rates more aggressively.
Of course they will.
Yeah, more aggressively if needed, Powell says. Let's see.
That guy's the biggest mistake Trump ever made, man. As like, he's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, all these people are all like that. The U.S. Central Bank must move expeditiously to bring too high inflation to heal, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said on Monday, and will, if needed, use bigger than usual interest rate hikes to do so. The labor market is very strong. An absolute freaking lie. Inflation is much too high, Powell told a National Association of Business Economics conference. There's an obvious need to move expeditiously to return the stance of monetary policy to a more neutral level, and then to move to more respected levels if that is what is required to restore price stability. In particular, he added, if we concluded that it is appropriate to move more aggressively by raising the federal fund rates by more than 25 basis points at a meeting or meetings, we will do so.
Well, they just did it.
They just did it, but he's saying that if they see that they need to, they'll raise it even more. Right. Here, let me just finish this one. Fed policymaker last week raised interest rates for the first time in 3 years and signaled ongoing rate hikes ahead. Most see short-term policy rates pinned for 2 years near zero at 1.9% by the end of this year, a pace that could be achieved with quarter percentage point increases at each of their next 6 policy meetings. By the end of next year, Fed policymakers expect the central bank's benchmark overnight interest rate to be at 2.8%, bringing borrowing costs to a level where they would actually start biting into growth. Most federal policymakers see the neutral level somewhere between 2.25% and 2.5%.
But they've already started out by fudging the numbers, because if you actually look at real interest inflation, the shadow stats, they go and they use the stats from the 1980s,
right?
Which you're aware of. That was the real numbers, but it started to make the government look bad, so they had to change it, right?
Yep.
So right now they're saying, oh, we're at like 7% inflation. No, we're at like 15.8% inflation right now.
Yeah, it's the paper inflation versus real inflation, right? I mean, that always comes into play. They're like, oh, no, we're not such high inflation, but when it comes down to it, prices really are much different.
But at the same time, so you have Jerome Powell talking about how it's like, oh, well, we're going to come in. I think he's just talking the big talk, because he has put himself into a trick bag. And what I mean by that is that he has, on one side, pumped all of this cash into the market, right? Trillions upon trillions of dollars into the market. At the same time, you can't pull the emergency brake on that. You can't dump money in the market and then at the same time, pull back on it. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like a moving train, right? Like they sped up the bullet train going as fast as they could, and now they're trying to slow it down, slowly, and try to get it go in reverse, but you can't just stop it on the dime.
Yeah, he'll come out.
Unfortunately, the economy is going to be
he'll come out and he'll say that stuff, but I think what it's going to end up doing is you're going to have these weak-spined politicians that are going to come out and go, well, we're just going to have to raise taxes. We're going to have to curb spending. Yep. All of you people poor, stop being poor. Go out and buy a $50,000 Tesla. Pump that money back into the economy.
Oh man, did you see that Maryland and Georgia, they just suspended their gas tax?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
And why isn't that in Virginia? On the way here, man, I saw gas price at $5.45, I think.
Where?
On the way here.
Oh.
It's in here. I mean,
it was $4.09 where I live, but I know. Yeah, you sent me a picture this weekend. It was like $4.19. Was that you?
Yeah. That was more towards into Arlington, but this was closer to more in the outskirts of Northern Virginia, and it was $5.45. I'm like, man, these people must have horrible suppliers. But I mean, the fact that the gas prices are so chaotic, pretty much if you go 2 counties over, is freaking insane.
Well, so again, during World War II, the government would go after anybody who raised their prices, right? And so that was the NRA. You can't raise your prices. You got to keep your prices at a level that the government sets. Well, it's impossible when you're pumping money into the system, because the Romans figured this out a long time ago. It's like, well, if you start faking gold, well, the people who sell stuff figure that out. They know the weights and stuff like that. Well, people who sell stuff figure out when there's more money in the economy. It's like, oh, you got all this extra cash. Well, I'm gonna start raising the prices, And then we have our what's her lovable name? Walking Eagle, because she's so full of crap she can't fly. Elizabeth Warren. I think that's her Native American name.
Walking Eagle?
Walking Eagle, yeah.
No, Wise Eagle. Wise Eagle.
No, Walking Eagle. She's so full of crap she can't fly. Anyway, she came out and talked about how we need to start. I just said it. We're going to need to start raising taxes, or we're going to need to start going after these businesses who are price gouging. I used to own a restaurant. My family owned a restaurant. When the prices went up on fuel, we had to raise costs. Mm-hmm. That's just a part of doing business. Mm-hmm. And you know how much money I was taking home? Less money, because I had to lay off a worker. I had to work more hours. It's just the way it works. But someone like Elizabeth Warren, who's never owned a business in her life, who's never probably flipped a burger, has no idea what she's talking about.
Well, they also just gave themselves a 20% raise. Right? Oh. Well, Congress did, at least.
Because they so
20% raise, man. The hypocrisy. And people, how is this not in main news that Congress people have given themselves a 20% raise during this crazy inflation time?
Yeah, well, we have those oracles out there like Paris Hilton. Why can't you just stop being poor?
Oh my God.
Why can't the poor stop being poor?
That was one of the greatest lines ever. You imagine all poor people are like, what? Did she just say that? No, she couldn't have said that.
Well, and I forget who said it, but they said, when the United States sneezes, the rest of the world gets a cold.
Yeah.
So the crap we're going to face here, it's going to be on a grander scale around the world. They're going to feel like crazy. And what's going to happen is you're going to start driving these other countries together: China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran.
Yeah, and what happens if oil comes off the dollar?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So then all that money that China has in U.S. bonds, they're going to dump it. It's going to come right back here to the United States. Hyperinflation. They're gonna create their own side currency, for the petrodollar. Then what do we got?
Well, it'd just be the yuan, right? The yuan would be the new petrodollar.
Yeah, but I mean, here in the United States, what happens? Your reserve currency goes away.
I mean, your dollar would be garbage by that point.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of us having that was to say that if you ever trade oil in anything but U.S. dollars, we'll bomb you. Literally.
Yeah, that's why the
Gaddafi.
Yeah, exactly. to put it lightly.
Yeah. So but yeah, so we have some interesting stuff to look forward to, and as anybody else would say, don't take my word for this stuff. Go online, look it up, do your own research. Make sure you're looking at more than just your circle of influence when it comes to stats. Don't just Google it.
Mm-hmm.
Check Bing, check Duckduckgo, check Brave, check all these other websites, because they're going to give you a lot of stuff. Because as we know, Google's filtering a lot of stuff out there.
Yep.
So make sure you do.
And apparently, Duckduckgo is now too.
Oh,
so
great.
I mean, the one thing that your platform is based on, and you're like, we're not doing that anymore. We're actually going to be like Google now.
Didn't we just say that about what was it? What's that porn site? From home. The girls are doing from home.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, we're not going to do porn anymore. It's like that's entirely your business model, man.
I mean, like, why else do you exist?
Yeah. So if you're DuckDuckGo and your whole business model was to not track people's online, it's like you just killed yourself. Good luck.
Or I think also censor certain information. Yeah. They're like, we're actually going to censor some stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, and then you're just going to get something like Brave that pops up, and then people are going to go to that. Yeah. I mean,
I personally use Brave, and I think it's a great browser. I haven't had any problems using it compared to DuckDuckGo. I actually never liked DuckDuckGo in the first place.
Have you ever done like a comparison, like if you search for something on Google and search for something on Brave?
Yeah, obviously you have a lot more hits on Google, right? Mm-hmm. But also Brave is. I mean, I don't know how old Brave is, browser wise, but
the most important question is when you type in big booty girls,
you get big booty girls.
Don't do that.
No, don't do it. Please don't do it. But yeah, I mean, we're not here to give you guys financial advice of any kind. These are just our opinions, and this take it with a grain of salt, and do your own research, and do what's best for you and your family, and when you think that is. But this is just from what we've seen from our research and from the state of things that we see them as. So yeah, you think you had a couple other interesting things you want to talk about, right, Brian? Why don't
Yeah,
we make a hard right.
Well, it's funny you say right. So this is from the Daily Wire. Axios warns, prepare yourself, Mike, warns about the rise of white nationalist Hispanics. Axios has warned its readership about the latest development threatening public safety and our democracy, the rise of white national Hispanics. Before I go into this, what is your take on Latinx?
No.
You don't, no Latinx, no Latinx,
No.
Latinx.
No, por favor. No. This is like this. If you ask any real like Hispanic person, some people don't even know what that means, man.
Because
like the majority of people are like, "What are you talking about? Latinx? Is that a cat?"
Yeah.
You know, like no, nobody knows what that means because nobody cares because it's not important to your life.
Well, isn't the Hispanic language completely based off of male and female?
Yes, like most other languages, most romantic languages.
French.
You know why? Because there's only two genders.
Uh-oh.
As far as we know.
All right, let's continue on. All right, so a small but increasingly visible number of far-right provocateurs with Hispanic backgrounds who spread racist, anti-Semitic messages. Author Russell Contreras and Astrid Galvin list a number of people of Hispanic ethnic background who attacked Americans of Black and Asian descent, although there is no indication that white nationalism motivated the perpetrators.
So what are you talking about? So you just said that all these people are new nationalists, but we know for sure that this isn't because of white nationalism. What?
One of the assailants, Jose Gomez III, also stabbed a white Sam's Club employee who intervened to stop Gomez from further assaulting the Asian family. According to the Justice Department, the other Alex Michael Ramos asked pointedly, "You call me a effing white supremacist? I'm effing Spanish. I was raised in the expletive ghetto, a-holes."
I mean, sorry, what's the name of the people that wrote this?
I'm not going to go back.
Oh my gosh, man.
Axios acknowledges that non-white members of the white nationalist movement face glass ceilings.
Oh man.
There are limits to how accepted some far-right Latino activists can become in white supremacists in neo-Nazi circles, website says.
Oh my god. This is like SNL, man. Like,
oh my, wow. So, like, a lot of people know. Well, maybe you don't know. So you had you had the Proud Boys, right?
Right.
And believe whatever you believe about the Proud Boys, whatever. Right?
You want to give a quick brief about who the Proud Boys are from what you know?
So it was started as a joke with, I can't remember the guy's name.
Let me look it up.
But anyway, it was started as a joke, and it was like, you know, they would do these little initiation stuff, and you had to wear this one polo that had the gold on it or something like that. And basically it was like, you know, you're proud to be an American, you're proud of certain things that has to deal with the United States in itself. But nothing was about hate. Nothing was about hate against anybody else. In fact, I think they did a study in where they found like 30% of the members were Black. And do you know who the president? Do you know what his race was?
Cuban?
Yay! Afro-Cuban. You got it right. It's clearly a racist organization when your president is Afro-Cuban.
Yeah, his name is Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio.
Yeah.
Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the fact that they're spinning this is just shows you, you know, kind of like politically what they're trying to achieve, right? I mean, obviously the Hispanic, you know, minority, whatever. Yeah. I don't even think they're really a minority anymore. Is shifting, right? Because actually what most people don't understand is, you know, Hispanic, Mexicans, Guatemalans, you know, anything South American, they're actually pretty conservative in the way they think. You know, Catholics, LDS, you know.
Yeah, but okay, so what's one of the things that they did recently too, right? They took Cubans off of the list of Hispanics, and now they're considered white, right? But here's the thing. Thomas Sowell talked about this a long time ago, right? He wrote it in his book. I think it was in 1981, 1980 or something like that. It was called Ethnic America. There is no grand, large race of Hispanic, right? You have different ethnicities. You have different breakdowns. Even when you go to Spain, right? You have a breakdown of different ethnicities within Spain. Whites, right? There's mass differences between someone from Italy and somebody from Ireland, or somebody from Ukraine and somebody from, say, northern Spain, what they would consider white.
Or like, let's just make it a big differential. France and Spain.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Completely different cultures, people.
Yeah, so you're lumping everybody into this big group, right? Just for whatever purposes that you have, which are probably nefarious. But then you start coming up with this, because what are we seeing right now? They did a study recently where they took a poll, and this was a left-leaning poll, where they polled Latinos, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, did I use the correct terminology?
No.
Latinx. And they found that overwhelmingly over 53% were aligned with the Republican Party. So all of this stuff that you're trying to do to ease voting, to ease illegal immigration, right? They were trying to do it, of course, because they're trying to get that extra vote, right?
Well, for the census, right?
Oh,
to
census,
boost numbers and get more
and
seats.
Gerrymandering, you do all this. Yeah, exactly. And come to find out, just like you said, Hispanics tend to be more conservative in their daily lives, right? Yep. So when you have a group like Cubans, for instance, that come from a socialist country, or Venezuelans who understand what they came from, they're going to come here and they're going to be much more conservative.
Yeah. So
then we can't say that these people are a minority, because it would be against the message, right?
Right. I mean, man, it's so interesting to see how the message has shifted. Just being a Hispanic, being Mexicans, it's the targeting that has come throughout my life since I was young, all the way up till now. It's always been like, oh, you're oppressed. Yeah. There's no way you can succeed in this country. I mean, you're here, but you need daddy government's help to be better and to, get ahead in life. There's no way you're going to be rich. They classify you, as either like a cleaner or like a farmer, or, you work in service or whatever it is like that. Right. But like entrepreneurship, starting your own business, that isn't regulated to just white people or, Asian people as the socialist people are saying nowadays. Yeah. But well, it's just funny because I remember I was brainwashed with that stuff, man, growing up. The crap that the Democratic Party was just pushing, left and right, or not even the Democratic Party. I'm gonna say like
leftist,
the leftist, right? Because it's completely they're completely different from
the left. You can have a debate with, and they're going to be honest brokers. Leftists are absolute fanatics.
Democrats,
as much as they like to say the far right for anything, I mean, even like Tim Pool's far right now, and the guy's clearly not.
Oh my gosh, no. He's like for universal health care and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right? He was a big Bernie
Joe
supporter.
Rogan's far right. He was a Bernie supporter.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway,
and so yeah, like I was saying, man, the narrative that I've seen, just spewed towards, I guess, my people, whatever. I mean, it's just lies, man. Lies over lies over lies, and people still buy it all the time just because it comes with gifts with strings attached that you don't see, right? Government programs that never end, but at the same time help just enough that keep people, tied into the machine and into that narrative.
And generally from the Hispanic, like I grew up in Arizona, a lot of my life. I was in the barrios. I was in Mesa, Arizona, and man, I'm telling you what, the Hispanic community out there was solid.
Yep.
I mean, they were lockstep on everything. They were a very close-knit community, but they were also extremely welcoming and warm, right? Mm-hmm. And what you saw was that they, at the time, this was in the late 80s, early 90s, right? They did not want the government to help them at all. Like it was an offense. If you were being helped by the government, you were looked down upon.
Right.
But we're starting to see that shift now. We're starting to see more single mothers. That in the Hispanic community. Are you kidding me? Like single mothers, like that's
I mean, family's huge in the Hispanic community.
It's predominantly Catholic, right?
But if you want to see what they're trying to do to the Hispanic community, just look at what they've done to the Asian community, right? And what they were trying to do with them. Like when, obviously the Asian community has a big, a long history of, suffering and oppression and stuff like that in the country, but they rose above that, right? Through perseverance, through hard work, through, moral values that they had, and the left really tried to like oppress them and keep them down, just like all these other minorities. But they rose above that, right? And I just hope and I'm praying that like this happens with the Hispanic community. We can rise above those petty differences that we see and these lies that are being spewed to us. But I just, man, it's a hard game. They're playing with us, man. Hard game. They're trying every year, every time.
And as much as I'll rail on the left, I will also rail on the right too, specifically with the Republican Party, because man, the Republicans have a golden opportunity to reach out to the Hispanic community, to reach out to the Black community, and if they are in a sense. However, it's usually people who have red pilled themselves,
right?
Like you have your Candace Owens, you have your Brandon Tatums. They're waking up on their own. But I'm waiting to see that with the Hispanic community as a whole. Yeah, you have, like I said, you have your Cubans, you have your Marco Rubios, which he's still milquetoast. Ted Cruz more so conservative, I would think, but
yeah, he's Hispanic too, man.
He's Cuban.
Yeah, he's Hispanic. So I don't know, man. You kind of saw a small awakening with Trump, and by no means am I a big Trump fan or anything like that, right? Is it better than what we have now? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hands down, I don't think anybody would disagree, except if you're crazy. But
so just, I'm sorry, go interrupt. So somebody who's close to me told me their friend who is a socialist. I've debated this person before. She is an out and out socialist. She's a nice lady, but she is an out and out socialist. She conferred on the phone with this friend of mine that we would be better under Trump right now, and she wished that Trump was still president.
Oh my gosh. See, but I think that's the majority thinking, but it's in private. That's what they say in private and, to just very close friends and family, but they don't publicly. They're like, oh, no, we can't do that.
Dude, Ben Shapiro says all the time. He's like, I get text all the time from people,
celebrities,
you would imagine are on the left. They're like, man, I agree with you. I just can't say anything because I'll get attacked.
Yep. And that's the thing, man. Once you break out of that cycle, once you red pilling, you just say F it, right? I don't care what these people do. I'm gonna have my own way of thinking and move forward with it. Yeah. You break away from that, and it doesn't even faze you sometimes, man.
Yeah, so. But this is the dirty thing of politics. You just keep otherizing, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, you have everybody, they started attaching everything that has to do with the right with white, right? And you start otherizing. So before it was like, Italians were never considered white. Then they latched them into the white community. Clearly they're not white, right? Greeks, right?
Irish, right? The Irish, man.
Yeah.
Poor people.
Well, I think it's funny though too. Didn't they say the Polish are considered people of color now?
Yeah. Shout out to Luke Rakowski from We Are Change. He was he has his ethnic minority card.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's not going to be long. I'm telling you, there's going to come a time when Hispanics are overwhelmingly, even greater than 53% are. You start getting into the 60%.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Hispanics are going to be white.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've seen this with the exodus from California, right? I mean, people are just leaving in droves, and it's not just white people, and other ethnic ethnicities that are leaving. It's a lot of Hispanic people that are leaving California. For forever, California has been, the Hispanic mecca of the United States, besides like obviously Texas and Arizona and New Mexico. But they've been leaving in droves, man. And obviously they're spreading out through the country, and they're seeing like how great these, I'm not just going to say Republican-led states or districts are, but I mean, for the most part, those are the, more free-thinking, places to live. And they compare it, then you compare it to California. And the only thing California has going for it is it's, sometimes it's a nice state, like, you get the beach and you got some nice forests and stuff like that. But, policy wise, they're living free lives now. And I think, politically that starts changing the mentality, right? And as that keeps going, then that's how you change the culture for it.
Well, the other thing too is we see this, it's kind of a pivot in a sense of this argument where you're seeing and we've seen it, this attack on guns, right? And what happens in bigger cities, you have more gun violence. Yep. Well, if you look at Chicago, you look at Atlanta, you look at New York, still, if you take out Rudy Giuliani, but you look at these major, Sacramento, San Francisco, these major cities that are Democrat, they've been run by Democrats for decades.
I mean, you can't even remember the last time they were run by.
Like I said, you have Rudy Giuliani, but crime went down, right?
Right.
I mean, he did that.
But he was also handlocked a lot by every step of the way.
Yeah, but he was doing the the no broken window rule or what I forget what that was called, and so he was going block by block, and they started doing a lot of the stop and frisk, which apparently people don't like, but hey, it helps. But they start going to the black community, right? And they're just like, where we see they want less policing, but when they actually go to the black community, they talk to the black community, and they go, "Do you want less police?" And they're like, "Hell no, we need more police."
It's also like that story where like black people don't have ID and can't get access to ID, and then they go into the black community. They're like, "Hey, do you know anybody close to you that doesn't have ID?" It's like, no, everybody has ID.
Yeah, but back to my
back to the
no, that's a good one. We'll hit that one sometime too. But yeah, what you're seeing now too is in these cities, especially in the minority communities, man, they're starting to buy up guns like crazy, man.
Yeah.
I think the largest community that's buying up guns right now is the black community. They're just buying them up like crazy because they understand it's like, hey, man, ultimately, if it takes the cops 10 minutes to get to my house because of something's going on, 10 minutes is an eternity.
Yeah. Guess what? I'd rather be alive and have to face a judge in court than be dead or my family be dead. Right.
Yeah. What is it? I think I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, gun rights has just been exploding throughout the country, right?
Well, we just saw Ohio just passed constitutional carry, which is crazy because basically all you're doing is just saying, yes, the Constitution says that you can already carry a gun and you don't need a license.
The funny thing is they also don't call it constitutional carry. They name the bill or something like very different, right? Permitless carry. Yeah. It's like just call it constitutional carry, but it's like I think it's the optics of it, right? Yeah. They don't want to say it, but
it's crazy. Texas just passed there. Like I always thought for the longest time, I lived in Texas too. I always thought for the longest time Texas was constitutional.
So you were able to carry rifles, concealed or open, but you weren't allowed to carry handguns, concealed, right? You had to carry an open carry. So, but they finally got rid of that, and everything's just constitutional carry. So,
and what I think the article I saw too, I don't remember if it was the Blaze or PJ Media, but they said it's like 26 states now have constitutional carry, which just means we follow the Constitution.
Yep.
Nebraska, Georgia, and Oklahoma, I think, are the next ones. It's already moving. It's
already on the legislation's already moving towards that route. Yeah. So I mean, I think I was watching Timcast IRL episodes a while back, and he was showing a map of the constitutional carry states before and progressively through the years, and it's just like keeps going constitutional carry everywhere, man. Yep. And especially these last two years where like riots and just craziness has been happening and the government doesn't do crap. Yeah, so people are like, oh man, I'm taking things in my own hands now.
I think during the BLM riots, the FBI saw permits for guns increased by like 200% or something like that.
Yeah, they freaked out.
Yeah,
but a lot of those people also are Democrats, man, or left leaning people. They just don't say it, right? They don't say that they have guns.
Well, I have a lot of friends from college that consider themselves conservative in private but liberal in public.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, So.
I mean, each their own. If you want to have a private view and the public view, whatever, man. But it seems disingenuous, right? Yeah. Like morally, even to yourself.
Yeah, but the whole idea, the gun explosion that we're seeing right now. Conversely, what you're not hearing is an increase in crime, right? We've actually seen a decrease in crime over the decades. Granted, yeah, you have your school shootings, you have the riots that occur, but if you look at the large grand scale number, we've been decreasing since I think the early 80s, late 70s, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, those stats are skewed too because I think what is it like 90-something%, like over 95%, I think, are actually suicides.
No, it's 65%.
65. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
You can fact check us out. We don't know exactly what it is, but
it's roughly 40,000 deaths every year from guns, right? Mm-hmm. Homicide, whatever. 40,000 deaths from guns. 65% of those are suicides. That leaves 11,000.
And those suicides are also not just committed by rifles, right? But it's like mostly
actually
like handguns.
Yeah,
like
handguns.
That's like all looped into it, right?
More deaths are caused by handguns than rifles,
right?
And then also, conversely, more people die from fists and getting kicked in the face and all that stuff than guns, period.
What about car accidents?
Yeah, exactly. More kids die every year drowning in pools.
More kids die with overdosing in fentanyl than they do with guns.
Yeah, I mean, you have, 600,000 people dying every year because of cardiovascular issues?
Smoking?
Yeah.
That's
if,
legal.
if there's any argument that you want to have that I can sit there and go, okay, maybe we should reduce the amount of sodium in McDonald's. You're probably right. Maybe we can have that argument, but guns, come on. It's just, it always comes up. Something happens, and then we always have to go after this gun argument. But when you bring up the statistics on them, all of a sudden everything falls back. Because when you sit there and you say, oh, well, you know what the FBI statistics also say? That at a minimum, 500,000 to 2 million people defend their lives with guns.
Right.
But they never talk about that. So if you talk about, say, car seatbelts, right? Again, 40,000 people roughly die every year in car accidents, but how many times are people saved by a seatbelt, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, also the hypocrisy with Ukraine, and when the citizens started like dishing out AK-47s, and all the left and Democrats are like, hooray, give them the AKs.
I think Occupy Democracy was just like, yeah, this is amazing. You should do this. We should support this. But then they showed like an old tweet where they were just like, any city that's, not doing gun buybacks or,
It's like side-by-side comparisons, right? Or, well, man, what is that Twitter handle called? They do side-by-side comparison tweets, like before and then like now.
You talking about like the libs of TikTok?
Libs.
It's like the libs of TikTok, I think.
Or like Unleashed L's or something like that, right? But they show like tweets are like guns kill. We should ban all rifles. And then like there's a tweet about Ukraine like arm all of them, give out AK-47s.
Well, I think it was Calling in the War that talked about this. And somebody, it was funny because he was on some show talking about guns. That's his thing. He's a big Second Amendment advocate. And
shout out to Colin Noir, man. He's great.
Yeah, and somebody, he put out some gun statistics, and then somebody was like, "Well, what do you know about the law?" And he's like, "I'm an attorney."
But they don't believe him, though, man. A lot of times they're like, "No, you're not. You're such a liar."
Yeah. So his statistics that he quoted, because everybody always talks about, like, well, we can all agree on on some simple gun reform, right? Common sense gun laws. And he brought out a statistic. He's like, there's 3,000 federal gun laws and over 22,000 local and state gun laws. He's like, what more do you need?
Yep.
What more do you need to have?
Well, I think it's also just ignorance about guns in general, right? I mean, most people think like when they see an AR, that's like a fully automatic, like, shoot, spray and pray. Like it's
full
like
semi-auto.
Yeah, like that 30 round clip holds like 500 rounds, right? Like it can just decimate everything, but it's like it's a semi-auto. It can shoot once and it has 30 rounds.
Yeah, it's like there's some key words to let us know that you know nothing about weapons. When we hear you say full semi-auto, when I hear you say clip,
it's like, do you even know? Or when you're like, what does AR stand for? And they're like, automatic rifle, Armalite rifle. Okay, please step aside, man.
Yeah. Or everything's an AR-15. It's like, nope, that is a SIG.
Well, the thing, man, people don't even want to have the conversation though. Like when you go to these protests, moms against guns or something like that, and you're like, well, can you tell me what a rifle is? Like, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Yeah. They're like, oh, I remember this great clip about this one guy. He's like asking, he's like, hey, well, let's talk about it.
I think it was Crowder.
Was it Crowder? Maybe one of Crowder's guys.
And he had the guns out there.
No, it was somebody else.
Okay.
And I think he goes around just with like his phone and is like interviewing people, and he's like, well, what? Oh, maybe, dude. I'm not entirely sure. And he's like, what do you think about a rifle? What's a assault rifle to you?
Yeah.
And the lady says like, are you stupid? Are you stupid? And he's like, no, but like, well, what is it? Let's talk about this, right? Like, this is what it is to me. What is it to you? Like, what does it mean? What do you want? Yeah. She's like, you're stupid, man. Just leave. Like, you don't even know. They don't even want to have the conversations, man. That's the problem. If you can't even have the conversation, you can't find middle ground. Period. So what's the point in even talking? Right. What do you think about that new concept of, it's like there's no point even talking to you, to the other side anymore.
That's where I think you're seeing you're seeing a fracture in this country. And as much as it's becoming a trope to say, you're seeing the Civil War in this country, and I think we're beyond a cold Civil War. We're in a warm Civil War in a sense.
Right.
You're seeing parallel economies. But I think the bigger thing to get to what you're saying is that we can't agree on that the Constitution is right or not. I mean, you have this guy, this Harvard professor. I don't know if he's a Harvard professor, but he came out and he talked about how the Constitution is trash, right? Well, the Constitution gives you the right to say it's trash, first of all. But if we can't agree on the simple things of the Constitution, whether you have freedom of speech, because you have who's it, Ryan Cranston from Breaking Bad, who said it's like maybe we should have limitations on freedom of speech. There should be some guardrails on it. It's like, no, you either have the freedom of speech or you don't.
Yeah,
right?
it's either or, man. Like there's no middle ground when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and if we can't find middle ground like we used to in this country on that stuff, then why are we together, right?
Exactly.
Peaceful divorce. But the thing is that Colonel Allen West said it the best. He's all like, when they keep talking about secession, you know, they always talk about, it's like, oh, Texas wants to secede or the South wants to continue to secede. He goes, yeah, you hear about these during elections. He's like, but what did you hear when you had Trump get elected? California should secede. You know, these leftist cities or these leftist states should secede. He's like, the right doesn't want to secede. The left wants to secede.
Right.
They don't want the Constitution. They don't want guns. They don't want freedom of speech. They don't want freedom of religion, right? That's another rabbit hole we can go down, which we should someday. But they don't want these things. So if you don't want those things, you're the one that wants to secede.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like, when people are like, well, you know, I hate this country. Like, I love when people go up to, what's his name? D'Souza? Dinesh D'Souza. He's great. And they're like, oh, I hate this country. Everything about this country is horrible. You know, the laws, everything. He's like, and then he responds, he's like, well, then why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, what was it? I think it was Ben. He's like, I will subsidize, somebody to like, who doesn't want to be in America to leave.
Well, it's always the same people too. Whoopi Goldberg.
Or when Trump was being elected and all these celebrities are like, if Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. It's like, bye.
We're waiting. Yeah. What was that? Yeah. That one actress,
Who was it? I don't remember who
Ray,
it was.
something Ray. I can't remember her name. She was
that one important. She was.
Yeah, she was. Well, she was on the Cosby Show back in the day.
Yeah.
She was like the youngest girl. I can't remember her name, but anyway, I'm going to leave the U.S. and you had Whoopi Goldberg, and then you had all these other people on The View, and all these other. We're going to go to Canada, and I heard people from Canada like, we don't want you.
No. We already have Megan and Henry. You can stay there.
Yeah, but it's what we're just seeing. We're seeing more than just a fracturing. I mean, you're seeing a warm civil war right now. And what I see is like when you have these riots during the summertime, as they're fondly called, the BLM riots, all that's doing is driving more people towards the right. Now, I'm not saying it's making them Republican. That's not what I mean. You're just driving them. Technically, you're not driving them. You're leaving them. Mm-hmm. Dave Rubin said this many times. He's like, I didn't leave the left left me. Or I didn't leave the Democratic Party left me. Right. If you look at prominent Democrat presidents, say JFK, today he would be a Republican. Mm-hmm. And again, I have my qualms with the Republican Party as well, but he would be on the right. Yep. Okay. And you're starting to see this drift more, but I think it's not. I know it's not that the right is running more towards the right. They're not. They're standing still. The left is running at a fast pace, as fast as they can, to fascism, and it's crazy. I never thought I would see this stuff in my life that I'm seeing now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just in my personal opinion, I don't think there's a way back. I think the cultures and the politics are so divided that, I mean, I think we've passed the chasm of a point of no return where we can come back in the middle and like actually discuss and find a compromise.
Yeah, you can't even watch sports anymore.
I can't.
Mean, you can't do it, man. You had Ellen DeGeneres at one point sitting down with George Bush watching a football game, and all they did was rail on, how dare you sit down with that Republican racist? And it's just like, they're watching football. Holy cow. It's like, if I can't watch a sport with somebody, the thing that's supposed to be the great equalizer, football, basketball, whatever. Baseball, it's like, why are we politicizing this stuff? So it's like, I stopped watching sports a long time ago. I used to be a big Niners fan back when, Joe Montana was on there, but I gave up on it more so because at the time, this was probably mid-90s, early 90s when I was in the military, or late 90s when I was in the military. But I just saw the game changing with refs and stuff like that. I just felt like it's like, they're throwing games. So I kind of gave up on it. But when you start getting these activists in sports and everything's got to be, LGBTQ or BLM or whatever, it's like, can we just have a game, please, for crying out loud? Yeah,
when players are protesting the national anthem before the game even starts, you're just like, it's already gone off the rails, man. I mean, when the brands that they're wearing, the Nike, the Adidas, all that kind of stuff just goes, full woke. It's just like,
there's actually an argument to be made that kneeling for the anthem is actually more what is it?
patriotic,
then yeah. So,
but not in the context of what we've
yeah.
seen. Obviously, like I have no problem with people kneeling for the anthem if they're doing it in a patriotic fashion, right? As you know, as a form of reverence towards the fallen and the country. But obviously, the way we've seen it from one of the worst quarterbacks in history, whatever, just is not conducive to it.
Yeah, and the fact that you can't see your hypocrisy, that it's like the things that you're protesting, that same Constitution gives you the ability to do that.
Yep.
But the day you get rid of it, or the day you mark that out and you say that not God gives you rights, but man gives you rights, well, then guess what man can also do?
Take them away. Absolutely. I don't know if you saw that clip from The Five or whatever. I mean, that show. Every time I see a clip, I just can't believe what just keeps coming out of their mouth, man. When they had that guy on, and he's like, "Yeah, we got to get rid of the Constitution or something like that," and I was just like, I immediately just changed the channel because I was just like,
I think Gutfeld's the only thing they really got going on that show. He's the best guy, but I don't even watch Fox anymore. So
no. I was talking about what is it? The Five, The View. Was it The View or
the with all the ladies?
Yeah, with all the ladies.
Yeah,
that's what I was talking
Whoopi
about.
and Joy Behar.
Well, didn't she get fired? I thought she got fired.
No, she got suspended for 2 weeks for.
Did she got brought back? I thought she got.
Nope, she's back.
Whatever. I mean, the funniest thing was when they pulled them on air off the show because they said positive for COVID.
Well, the funny thing is like on that show they have this one. I think she's Hispanic, and she's
a total socialist.
She's also apparently Republican though. That and she was talking about how it's like, oh, anybody who doesn't speak out against Russia or who speaks against Ukraine. Whoopi Goldberg chimed in and she was just like, well, back in the day, people used to be arrested for that. And they're like, well, maybe they should again. And it's just like, hello.
Yeah, people are just watching it like,
this is the split we're seeing,
Yeah.
Anyway.
And, you don't want to overuse the word Nazi, but it's like everything these people say and spew is just like, you do realize that this is what they've said, right, before. And like, this is what we're trying to avoid.
It's fascism.
Yeah, fascism. Man. Yeah. I mean, and I don't even think these people understand what that means anymore, dude. So.
But anyway, you got anything else before we close out today?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for, just being here and, watching the podcast. We've definitely enjoyed our time so far, and we're planning, keep continuing to run the show, and, whatever support you guys can give us, whether it be a thumbs up, subscribe, or, we also have our locals account. We're more than grateful, and, we just want to keep bringing you guys some great content and, just a different perspective of things.
Yeah, and we read every comment, all 2 of them. Thanks for the 2 people who commented. You're amazing. But yeah, please share the show with everybody that you know. Don't just like and subscribe, comment. Let us know what we can do to improve. Let us know what you like or dislike. Continue to support us. We want to keep bringing you guys great stories, funny stories. We want to keep investing into this podcast. We know there's other people out there who they feel alone and isolated, and we want you to know that you're not. We want you to know that you're not crazy if you love this country, and you're not crazy if you love your community, But that being said, we appreciate everybody coming out tonight, watching the show. This will be on YouTube, on Rumble, and everywhere else you can find your podcast. So
yeah, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts as well. Once again, thanks everybody. Smash that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.